So, where did we leave off? Uh,
I think right before we quit was when I really needed a cigarette. Is that helping? Is that relevant to
yeah,
where
that's.
we were in the
Oh
plot?
shit! You're right. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is probably the time where you fell asleep. So a whole bunch of stuff happens on the bridge. You know that this is the part where they're kind of getting into the nebula cloud. A whole bunch of stuff happens and they start getting radio waves. The V'ger then sends the probe, which is scanning the ship, and it starts fucking with the science
Station.
I guess. I was trying to say like terminal.
Yeah. Console.
Yeah, console. Yeah, but science station, and Spock destroys it. He just, which just I mean,
Does
like,
he?
Yeah, that's true. Does he?
If somebody was hacking into your computer remotely or with some sort of power that goes through the way, I don't think destroying your keyboard would stop them.
Yeah.
I've got a sneaking suspicion, and the best part about it is it doesn't break that console. They use it multiple more times throughout the movie. Spock returns to that station and has readouts and explains to people what's going on based on that. He's telling people for the rest of the movie, like, this kind of radiation is coming out, this kind of whatever. And he's standing at that same station, which supposedly has no information because he slammed his hands on the keyboard. They also want to let it do it for a while.
Yeah.
And then Kirk suddenly comes up with the idea that it might be getting defense information.
Sure.
Which, quite frankly, by the end of the movie, I'm sitting here thinking this might be the end-all, be-all mistake of them all.
Letting V'ger look around?
It didn't seem like, I don't see any evidence that it needed to know anything about our defensive capabilities on Earth. It seems to be able to destroy anything at will.
Yeah.
It's creating a power field that would take thousands of starships to create, according to Decker.
Mm-hmm.
I see no extra threat in them getting this information, and therefore, is it conceivable that V'ger getting this information would fill in a lot of the blanks that it needed already?
Yeah, that's true. I was just thinking while you were talking was that
Rambling. Yeah.
Trying to make some
I had
semblance,
time.
some semblance of a point.
I was
guess.
sitting here.
That made
I
me
cut my toenails, and
Yeah,
then I
was-
decided, now I still have time. Let's think about this.
I chopped up a salad. Even.
He's still going.
Still going over there, I guess. Okay. Oh, might as well. I read a chapter of this book up there. I was kind of thinking, like, if V'ger was looking around in the database, wouldn't it, like, to your point, V'ger would like fill in the blanks that it's looking for, that it's actually, the Voyager probe, so it doesn't, like, it doesn't really matter, but I don't necessarily think it's something that they have to dig for when Kirk asks the ship to find the old NASA codes
Yeah.
for the ship. It's something they have to, like, obviously they have to dig for it. This is 400 years in the future, supposedly, right? So they had to go back a long time. So it's not necessarily something that V'ger would have just stumbled upon quickly, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Seemed like it was disseminating information faster than any bridge crew member starting to
Sure. And if
pour over it.
yeah. So if
Which I guess was a hurrah in the end.
yeah, well, filing.
Yeah. She.
Jesus.
Martin
Christ.
Luther King told her to stay on the show. That's
Really? Is that true?
She was gonna quit. She was at some NAACP event and was debating about quitting. And Martin Luther King told her that the one television show that he lets his kids stay up to watch is Star Trek, to see her on the show. and she decided not to quit after. I forget whether it was after the first season or after the second season. If it was after the first season, great advice. If it was after the second season, probably could have gotten out before it got before it got bad.
Yeah, and she still would have made her.
She'd still be known, yeah. But would she be in the movies? You quit before the show ended.
Yeah, that's a good point. But it's not like she got promoted. You know what I mean?
Communications officer a decade later and for 6 more movies. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
You should have gone into command. She has the red uniform,
Yeah,
right?
she is in red.
Oh, red wasn't command back then. Yeah, I'm an idiot.
Red was engineering.
Which communications.
Which I guess communications, in the 60s, that would have been an engineering sphere,
Yeah.
But it's, Next Generation, it's like, answering the phone, Tactical is answering the phone. Worf is answering the phone in Next Gen.
Yeah. There's no such thing as communications officers by then, right?
Yeah.
It's just original and Enterprise.
Enterprise has that makes sense.
Oh, you didn't. Yeah,
she's Vulcan.
No, that's their science officer.
Oh, of course.
She's a linguist because the universal translator is not nearly as universal back then.
Oh, what? That's a better role then.
It's much better.
Yeah.
She literally is trying to figure out languages.
That's cool.
It's a very cool idea. I don't think it's actually possible the way they make it.
Probably
but,
not.
Yeah.
Then again, it's It takes in Next Generation. It takes an entire supercomputer of the ship and an android to figure out that Darmok at Jalad means something in their language.
Yeah.
And that actually is their language. Is these metaphors.
Yeah. Metaphor.
So
their computer could hardly figure out what binars were doing, and they speak in binary, which is computer language.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible central computer system there.
Name Waxana.
Lawaksana.
Yeah, well,
two consonants in a row at the beginning. Pronounce that correctly.
Lakwasana.
LW Lawaksana.
I just stick with pronouncing it incorrectly.
Hey, we're talking about a character by the First Lady of Star Trek, all right?
Gene Roddenberry's wife.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also the voice of the computer.
Yeah.
That's why I was going to blame her for...
Oh, that's why you were asking what Lawaksana's name was.
Yeah. It's a bad joke, but...
I thought, you should have also asked what was Odo's first girlfriend's name. I would have come up with it faster. Did you even watch DS9? I'm trying to figure out why you're looking at me confused.
No, he already had the hots for Kiro when Waxana had the hots for him.
Hey, I've had the hots for a woman and had somebody else be my girlfriend.
Who hasn't? But that's not the point. Usually, like his first girlfriend. Well, we don't know his first girl. Maybe he had a Bajoran prisoner that he was with.
I don't think you did watch the
you.
show. He didn't have emotions until like the second season.
No, he had them. He was just burying them. That's why he admired Vulcan so much.
Yeah, I don't. Vulcans never come up again.
No, never.
They are like such a tertiary character, and
they're such a big deal in Next Generation. I'm sorry, in TOS because of like you were talking about how Roddenberry thought that was going to be the end all be all of philosophy, is pure logic.
They're a big deal in Enterprise too because of their.
I think this is
time period, I guess.
Oh boy!
Now we're at a point in the movie. What point was it?
It's a point.
It's a
Spock just destroyed the computer console.
Oh yes, so then they have to kill Ilea.
Yeah. Then the beam. Oh yeah. it gets all pissed off.
The probe, which is just a little bit of lightning.
A beam of light.
Yeah. Of plasma.
Sure.
They say plasma. I think that's basically, when you get that electron, what's the ball?
Ball lightning? Sorry, like that's a
Yeah,
ball
but
of
what do you
plasma?
call that ball that you put on and your hair stands up and whatever?
Oh, like when you the ball that you touch.
Yeah, the classic thing they used to put in sci-fi 20 years before this, and it meant something sciencey was going on. It meant Frankenstein his monster was about to come alive.
Yeah, I don't know what this ball is actually called.
I'm sure they're called something.
They have to have a name, right?
Yeah. So anyway, this
Yeah, the beam.
I
of
will
plasma.
say they always just say plasma, and that's what when Spock takes the tricorder, it's just it's a plasma probe, and plasma meaning basically nothing. I love some of the words that really mean nothing.
Yeah.
So whenever something looks like lightning or electricity passing, I guess the idea is one of the few times that plasma, which is just a state of matter, it's like calling a cloud gas.
Yeah.
Like it's
I mean,
so meaningless to say plasma, but when that exists on Earth, is literally inside lightning striking is whatever superheated something that becomes plasma. So I love that. I love the amount of times the word EM radiation is used.
Oh yeah.
Throughout all the series, and you're just sitting there like, so that could just be light.
Yeah.
Like literally, if you turn a flashlight on, that's
Yeah.
EM radiation. So you're being so nondescript that it means absolutely nothing, or something being ionizing radiation, ionization, or anything like that, and it's like you're describing such general things. So like, I mean, ionization is what happens when you stir salt into water. It doesn't.
Is it ionization is when an electron jumps up to the next energy layer?
I guess so. I mean, the way I was just describing it is simply splitting things into ions. But yeah, I guess it probably means more adding a charge to it. But even that is just, it's like something that happens all the time. Like it happens and unhappens at the same time right in front of you through anything.
Yeah.
Like it's just, I don't know. It's like describing static electricity because you walked across a carpeted room and like,
By describing it.
can you believe it?
Yeah, can you believe it that my hair seems to be ionized? I seem to be ionized.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a
Interesting.
plasma. It's a
Yeah.
plasma probe.
And it zaps, it touches Aaliyah, and she, big flash, and then we come back to the bridge and she's gone. Poofed.
Yeah, seemingly. I mean, in fairness, before it sounds to, it looks pretty much like when all the Klingon ships disappeared at the beginning.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Again, I think you brought up the lack of blood or anything. It's things disappear.
Yeah. Didn't the probe approach the ship like the weapon that it used against the Klingons? Didn't it look like
Yeah.
the thing that obliterated the Klingon, or it made the Klingons disappear?
Yeah, but it just appeared inside rather than doing anything.
Yeah, didn't it like come up and then disappear and then reform inside of the ship? Like it noticed that there's no shields, there's no weapons up.
I was going to ask you, I watched this in 4 parts because I fell asleep during the movie 3 different times.
That's fair. I'm pretty sure that's what happens. But there's a whole lot of nothingness that really happens,
Again, it's the slow reveal of every
Yeah.
single scene that just really made me... And I do really like the movie, which is why I've seen it multiple times, which is why it was easy for me to just fall asleep while watching it.
Yeah. There are some gorgeous shots of the ship getting deeper and deeper into the nebula, and then they find that some sort of opening, and it opens and grabs them by a tractor beam, and then pulls them in, and then then they start scanning and looking around, and they realize that like this thing is huge, and there's doesn't seem to be anybody on this thing, on this ship. They keep calling it now. They're calling it a ship. Doesn't seem to be any crew quarters, nothing like that. No oxygen levels, anything. No, life support. And Spock decides, I'm getting into the next chamber.
This is something we discussed off air one time, but I got to bring it up now, even though it's less about this one moment than it is about the earlier parts of the movie. There are a lot of free, single human beings in nothing but a suit outside of ships.
Yeah.
There is one at the first station that it's a space station that Kirk and Scotty are first going to head to the Enterprise from. There's a random guy floating out there. No real explanation as to why he's there.
He's just there. Come on, man.
It's
just cool.
I want to say there's two on the. I think when we first talked about it, I thought I remembered there being several, but I think there's only two.
Yeah.
On the outside of the area where the dry dock for the Enterprise. Mm-hmm. There are other people in small one-man vehicles that seem like that's the way to do these repairs or do whatever the hell you're doing out there.
Yeah.
Those people presumably still have the spacesuit on, so if something happens to the vehicle, they still have the extra protection. Why be out there on a spacesuit on your own? Which I found to really be a problem when we keep calling it an outpost, but I think it was I think they referred to it some other way. It's like something, and it had a number, but it was more specific than outpost. It was something about listening post or communications array or something like that.
Yeah, you're right.
But there's a guy outside in a spacesuit when that gets destroyed. They show him floating by. I'm like, get inside. Yeah. It's not going to do you any good. It just seems
like they saw this thing coming, right? And they weren't like, "Hey man, get back inside." They were like, "Just finish the repairs."
If I'm on an ocean liner that's going to go down in the middle of the ocean, I realize I'm not doing any better by being in it, but I'm still not diving off.
No. To do repairs. Presumably, that's what he was doing, was repairs or something, right?
Yeah.
It's not like he was out there because, sometimes, on Tuesdays at 3:00, I go outside.
Yeah.
I just walk around and I get some fresh air. It's not like, I'm assuming it's not that. It's not that, right?
Yeah.
He's probably out there doing repairs. So they see this thing coming, right? And he's still outside. He's either outside before they see it, or they see it and they're like, "We better get these repairs done before it gets here."
Yeah,
and then
go reinforce something.
It's close, and they're like, "Just a few more minutes,"
I mean, at least if you're inside, you go down with it. What if they destroy this array?
And you're fine.
And you're just floating out there. How long are you going to be there? It's on its way to destroy Earth. Nobody's coming. You're just waiting to die of dehydration at this point.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, but Spock goes outside alone with no... he Vulcan pinches somebody to get outside, That
was awesome.
Which also takes fucking 3 minutes for him to go out, finally get outside, Because that one scene of him creeping up behind him takes fucking forever.
He's missing for a while, too, before anyone realizes Spock's outside.
Yeah. There's no, alarm of, hey, somebody opened an airlock. There's a missing suit. Nothing. Where's security on this ship?
That's when they realize it. They reported this door open, reported this thing missing. How about no science officer at the science station on the bridge?
Yeah.
Maybe you notice it then.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where the fuck that son of a bitch go?
Yeah.
He's supposed to be monitoring something. Who else is going to use this keyboard now that he smashed it?
Only his dumb Vulcan fingers can operate this fucking thing at the moment.
Yeah. No. I thought he was doing it through mind. I thought he mind melded with the...
mind melded with the...
with the science station.
That's what he thinks he's going to go do, is mind meld with this machine.
Thinks?
Yeah.
That's what he did.
Well...
He didn't put his hand near anything. He just stuck it out.
And then you get some real trippy imagery in the next scene. of like moments of Voyager's journey.
Oh yeah,
You know?
yeah.
None of the machine world, by the way. None of the machine world that this thing crash lands on.
It takes a lot of set design.
Just a flash
Yeah.
of something cool, you know? No, we don't get to see that, but just know that's where people come up with your obnoxious idea that, you know, it was the Borg that V'ger went to go meet.
Did anybody come up with that? I was asking whether you'd ever heard that before. I thought of that.
You thought of it on your own? No one's ever brought that up to you?
Sort of planet on the other side of the galaxy that was full of robots.
Yeah.
That sounds like the Borg in the Delta Quadrant to me. Or, again, that weird robot in the Voyager episode that didn't have any moving parts on his face. They were a little bit more purely robot. That's why it could have been that one. And it's described as a robot world that kind of doesn't think the living things are really alive, although by the end of that episode it's because they do remember what happened to the living things that created them, and they revolted and killed them.
That's another thing that the Orville then stole from Star Trek.
Oh, I feel like they have a robot that looks very much like that.
Yeah,
Voyager.
The robot is all silver, no real facial expressions, slits, and it's a very solitude face.
Yeah,
know?
now I can picture it. Yeah.
Isaac.
It's been a while since I watched.
Yeah, the Orville is great.
How many seasons did they end up making that?
What was that, 3?
Okay, so I saw a decent amount. I think I saw 2.
The third one's good.
You know, and stealing a lot from Star Trek, Penny Johnson-Gerald is the freaking doctor.
Yeah.
There you go.
Everybody's made it a cameo on fucking Orville, you know? The doctor, the EMA emergency hologram has been on Voyager. I'm sorry, of course it's been on Voyager.
Yeah, you were correct with EMH, by the way. Yeah, emergency medical hologram.
Yeah, the EMH was on Orville.
They eventually were going to make an LMH out of Dr. Bashir.
Yeah, I remember that. That was a DS9 episode.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, Dr. Bashir wasn't in any other series, so yeah.
Very good. He didn't have the crossover like Riker and Voyager.
Riker and DS9.
Riker and Voyager and DS9.
What is he doing Voyager?
Q, there's 2 Qs.
Oh, they bring him in as an interview. Yeah,
and
evidence.
Like, do you remember this person? No, never seen him a day of my life. Really? Look at this picture.
Yeah, it wasn't even really anything that he did with them. It was something like Riker's great-great-grandfather was with the other Q at one point. So, like, nothing Q even did with the Enterprise or anything
it didn't have any. Yeah, I don't fully remember the reason why they even brought him in, other than, you know, this guy's been meddling in human affairs for a long time, I think was...
No, the opposite, that it's good that he's meddling in human affairs and he was going to kill himself.
That's right.
Because he wants out.
Yeah.
Although he got a full episode in DS9, Riker did, as Tom.
Yeah.
And speaking of crossovers and us talking about the EMH and him becoming LMH was with Robert Picardo, the EMH, playing his original doctor that created him and would eventually create, or presumably probably didn't create a Bashir. By the end, there was a bunch of legal drama.
That's right. Yeah. It's kind of an episode about intellectual property.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of... yeah, I guess.
Kind of, although that wasn't the legal drama that would have stopped him from making it. It was like, the same reason why they wouldn't put Decker in a brand new episode of Star Trek. They can't put somebody accused of, massive crimes against humanity, like changing your genetic makeup and all that. That is, felonious, presumably, in that world. You can't have him be the basis of the LMH.
Yeah, he shouldn't even be in Starfleet.
Yeah.
So Spock goes and mind melds with this thing. It comes back with all the answers that, V'ger comes from what it thinks to be a machine world, and it's been sent back out into the does V'ger think that the machine world was its home world?
It seems to.
Yeah.
Although saying that it's heading towards the creator and that created V'ger, it seems to know there was something beforehand, but
yeah, I don't necessarily think this is all that clear.
No.
Yeah. Does V'ger think that the machine world is where it's originally from? In which case, why is it out here and not? Presumably, it remembers.
It would think its creator was there.
Yeah. So if it was trying to travel all over the place and learn as much as it could, and come back to source to give all the information to, then it would have gone back to the machine world.
Yeah.
Instead
so
of
it's well aware it's from Earth.
Yeah.
On some level.
Right. So does it think that it does think that there's a infestation of human life on Earth that needs to be eradicated. But yeah, this is weird.
This is a problem that Star Trek has in general, which I think is ironically something they did well in that Voyager episode with the terrible looking robot, which is for the longest time in that episode, if I remember correctly, it's kind of presented as if it's from an all-robot world without living things. And as a result of being from an all-robot world without living things, there's almost some implication that, like, that they also believe that like, true life forms are robots and not living things, which for even an intelligent robot to come to that conclusion would mean that it thought it evolved naturally. All machines were eventually created by a living thing,
sure,
regardless.
Yeah.
And so that one, after pretending that for like 40 minutes, it's the robot itself that's trying to hide the fact that it revolted and killed every living thing on its planet, and that's why it's an all-robot planet. Whereas this seems to, whatever gave V'ger this extra computer was an all-robot planet, where the robots seem to think that robot life is the only life, and therefore was never created by something that developed naturally to begin with? Or robots developed naturally there? As living things?
I don't think we have enough information.
No, because that's not important. The important part is the moral, which is you need some emotion with your logic. Because, again, this is the end-all, be-all question of Gene Roddenberry work. And blah, blah, blah. He doesn't even seem to hate trying to extend life possibly infinitely, the way that Next Gen is very against that. Yeah. No matter what way you try to do it. But I can't... It seems like that's what Decker does at the end. Even if that's not the main goal.
Yeah, I guess. Well, I guess then in that he doesn't just extend his life, he becomes immortal.
That's pretty extended.
Yeah, it's very extended. But it's, saying it's extending his life it's not giving it its full weight. He's ascending into the next realm of being.
Oh, he's evolving.
Yeah.
Well, the robot evolved and used him as part of it.
Yeah. Well, he absorbed him. He assimilated him into V'ger's evolution, I guess.
Yeah. Is it right when Spock gets back that V'ger sends the probe, the human-looking probe?
I guess so, yeah.
Yes.
It's right around there. And then a whole bunch of nothing really happens in terms of the plot.
I would like to point out one very specific line that seems to be ignored later, which is that this new probe that looks like Ilea, when asked what happened to Ilea, the answer is a resounding, that unit no longer functions.
Yeah.
She's dead.
Yeah.
Which really hurts the end of this movie. where he is chasing Ilea like they are both going to go into this immortal thing, but I don't think they are. I think one of them's already gone.
Yeah. I think at the end, whatever Decker, because I think the thing that V'ger needs is like a human is human consciousness, right? Is the feelings that come with being a human, right? So his brain just can't do nothing. Like his consciousness can't just do nothing. It can't just be in a box. And he said like be interacting with something, or else it would probably revolt. Or maybe his consciousness is doing nothing for 100 years or whatever. We don't know.
Seems to enter a non-corporeal state where the ship and the cloud all dissipate in an instant.
Goes into the next dimension, into a new universe to explore or whatever. And if his body is gone, sure, but that doesn't mean his consciousness necessarily is gone into the ether, which goes against what Roddenberry thinks anyway.
Yeah.
But so like there's, for lack of a better word, to be on Philip K. Dick's side again, there's nothing after this, right? After this universe into the next one, there's not nothingness, right? So like the consciousness exists somehow, and whatever Decker is perceiving in those moments, I bet V'ger would give him some simulation of Ilea. So like to Decker's brain, is there really any difference? You know what I mean? Because then he, we don't necessarily know what happens next, but he could be interacting with some form of a mix between his memories and Alea's memories to make some holographic version of her that he gets to play with.
So, my argument against that would be that in my mind, there's one of two possibilities. One, that Ilea is just completely dead. The fact that this recreation as a probe was so perfectly recreated as to the brain and neurons being recreated perfectly as to hold on to old memories that don't seem to be forefront throughout most of this, but they're always playing on the idea of getting those more forefront, because every time she starts to remember, softens her up a little bit. Which means she's either dead as a doornail, and what I seem to think that Decker is actually chasing at the end is simply Ilea. He's chasing the idea that the two of them will go off on their own, that he is actually going to be with her, that when he looks at V'ger's probe that looks like her at the end, that is burning the cords or whatever, so that they don't get the last 4 digits of the command, just so that Decker can sacrifice her, and she's got a tear coming down her eye and all that.
She stops Kirk from interfering
with
what he was going to do with reconnecting it, and
so either she's dead, that shit doesn't matter, and he's chasing something that isn't there and is just becoming V'ger's next, to your point, still wanting the human consciousness or whatever, but maybe just killed Ilea too fast, not thinking that it wanted that whole consciousness. And or the other option is that the Ilea's brain was doubled so much that there is something for him, that there really is some humanity in the duplicated Ilea mind that is still somewhere in V'ger or whatever. My only problem with that is that if that is the case, V'ger doesn't need Decker. And if that isn't the case, Decker shouldn't be chasing it.
That's a good point.
Decker shouldn't chase something that doesn't exist, but if it does still exist, V'ger doesn't need another human. It has a human. Well, it has a Deltan.
Yeah.
But Deltans have emotion, presumably.
Assumingly they're masters of emotion and manipulation, according to Section 31.
Well, according to the new, but even if we know so little about them, without the express statement that they are Vulcan-esque in their lack of emotion, you got to assume most life forms have emotion.
Yeah.
That's what makes Vulcans
Yeah.
special.
100%. I think that your first scenario is not so unsimilar to mine, right? I think there's to your point that if Decker is chasing this thing that only kinda seems to have any semblance of what made Aaliyah, then that's only leftover of what was presumably like copied from her. To Decker's new form, it wouldn't necessarily matter because V'ger can take the memories that that Decker has and create, kind of fill in the blanks, so to speak. And V'ger can't do. I think that V'ger does need Decker because he did kill Aaliyah too quickly and just took her for spare parts. Took her for parts because V'ger does, because I was trying to think V'ger is a giant supercomputer that's like whole job is to collect information and knowledge and stuff like that. Why would V'ger disregard the memories and experiences that living beings have in their memories? But V'ger doesn't believe that that's real. That's real life. That's not living.
Yeah.
That's not real knowledge. That's not real experiences. So he wouldn't save any of that. So whatever's left over, whatever kind of emotional state that is imprinted onto the probe is, to your point, whatever is left over in the consciousness that isn't necessarily in your brain, right? Isn't necessary. It's just whatever is there because this is just how life is formed on an atom to atom level.
Well, I want to give the credit more, or the script more credit than what I just was. Just from your brief description, it made me immediately think that in this scenario where they took her, kill her off really quick, duplicate her to show them without in any way, shape, or form trying to take humanity or life or whatever from it, that it actually adds more to the rest of the characters that are trying to draw that out. So it's the fact that Kirk and Decker were actively trying to make the Aaliyah probe remember some of what the Aaliyah person knew, mm-hmm. that would actually inform V'ger that V'ger wanted emotions and thought beyond logic.
I mean, maybe V'ger doesn't. Maybe V'ger doesn't quite understand the lesson, right? And then at the end, when V'ger gets the codes and breaks the connection, baiting a humanoid to fix it, and become one with its creator. Maybe it didn't really understand what its mission was until all of those pieces fell into place for it. When they are at the very, very center, at the actual Voyager probe. You know what I mean? Then it finally figures out all of the, what the humans were trying to do by making Aaliyah, try to make the Aaliyah probe remember. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And in which case, you're right. It does give the script a lot more credibility.
Yeah, and it makes Kirk and Decker more important.
100%. Yeah, 100%. That would also make a really good Star Trek episode.
Oh yeah, it's
not necessarily a great movie, but it is a really good episode. But to go back to the Decker issue, I think that we're kind of in the same world here. We're both making the same argument here that whatever Decker needs to feed his consciousness because V'ger needs it. You know, V'ger will give whatever whatever's left of his consciousness. He will give to make V'ger able to get what it wants out of Decker.
Yeah, I think he will, but I still think his actual decision is just a chasing of Ilea.
It doesn't necessarily need to be more noble than that.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't need to be like, I'm so ready to explore a new universe, a new world of existence and reality.
Even the description, I want this as much as you wanted the Enterprise, it is kind of like I want this back, because he got the Enterprise back.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think he says the word back, but,
no,
that comparison kind of is like, I want Ilea.
Yeah.
I thought she was dead like a day ago, and then she became a robot, and I kind of want her back.
Hours ago. Yeah. Yeah.
We totally jumped to some last stuff, but somewhere in there right after... I guess that's why we had to jump, because after Ilea comes... Yeah, so she comes back in the shower. That's where they meet the probe. Yep. The sonic shower that has... it looks more visual than sonic. There was a lot around her.
Yeah.
And yeah, it is just a pretty drawn out trying to get to how they're going to interact with her.
Yeah. There's like 4 scenes.
Yeah.
That are very short in dialogue, but drawn out in visual of people looking at each other very solemnly. Like, you don't understand. And this may just be like a 60s writing in general, is that nobody can just say what they mean. You know, nobody seems to have the vocabulary.
I wish they just wouldn't do 60s writing in 79.
Well, like the just older sci-fi in general, you know. At least like I'm currently reading a book that was written in the 60s, and the actual dialogue between characters is very much like, oh, you don't understand, and like he just can't tell her what's going on.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just say that you know, just say the thing. You know, you're scared or whatever. It's like, bro, the aliens are literally invading right now. You got to just tell her, because she's your only ally. And there's only so many pages left of this book. I know this is your only ally. You know what I mean? You know, so I don't know. It's that comes across even in like media like Star Trek. Nobody is able to just say the fucking thing that they mean to say. You know, just tell Decker, this is not the Ilea that you knew. This is 100% a droid, which they do say, but it takes them so long to fucking say it.
She's got a little like crystal camera in her throat. Didn't that give her away?
It kind of gives her. It kind of gives up the game here.
Yeah. They tried playing games or anything?
Yeah, they went to the rec room to play some games, which were cool because they were like, that whole room. This is my favorite form of the rec room, is the red carpet, the sunken in couches,
oh, yes.
the table that are games and stuff like that. They play fucking hopscotch in the middle. You know,
yes.
You know, it's very much like, oh, they're games from the 70s. This is also like, there's only other like 2 other times in Star Trek that games are being played like this type of game, like a video game is being played.
And the other 2 times are both like a main plot device of the entire episode.
Yeah, and the moral of the story is almost like, this is why you don't play games.
Oh, maybe I'm forgetting one. One of the 2, that's definitely the moral. The one that...
The brain, the headset that they put on in TNG...
Yeah.
And it zaps their eyes, and all they have to do is put the fucking disc in the hole.
Why can't I think of the guest star in that? That's what I was going to refer to it as.
The chick?
Yeah.
I don't know her name. Yeah. But it was Wesley's crush. Wesley's the hero in that episode.
I think it's cute that you called it Wesley's Crush with his name being Wesley Crusher.
I'm just that clever.
Yeah. That was also something that DS9 did a lot better, but TNG, that was like their first attempt where she was actually in like 2 episodes earlier and only had like 1 or 2 lines, so that when she's in an episode for like a whole episode, you're like, oh, that's that chick.
Oh, I remember her.
She was already in something.
Yeah,
Maybe she's being built.
She's already been on the show. She's been on the ship.
I'm pissed we can't come up with her name, to be honest.
Yeah, that's something that you would be pissed about.
It's one of the biggest name actors that's ever been on a Star Trek show.
The Rock has been on Star Trek before. Take it easy.
Oh, wow. I do forget that one.
As a wrestler.
That is a great episode of Voyager for one specific reason, which is that...
The Rock.
No, it is because of the guest stars, and it is not because of The Rock. It's because 2 of the other guest stars of the episode are DS9 heavy hitters. Don't ask me who. I'm doing really terrible with names a couple hours into doing this show and drinking a lot.
Yeah, that's all right.
It's the guy, I'm pretty sure it's J.G. Hertzler who played Martok, and the guy that's in every Star Trek that played Wayun, and
Jeffrey Combs.
Jeffrey Combs. Yeah, so Jeffrey Combs is like...
an icon.
Oh, I think he's running that wrestling thing.
Of course. Why would he not be? You know?
And somebody else from DS9 is definitely her other like helper in there.
Oh yeah,
the Hirogen.
Hirogen.
Maybe it's not J.G. Hertzler, but it's definitely a DS9 supporting cast guy.
Yeah.
And The Rock. Yeah, so V'ger finds out a little bit about the world through these multiple scenes, and
which I mean, like I keep wanting to gloss over this whole section of the movie because, like, other than them trying to get emotions out of her and sometimes softening her up for a few frames of facial expressions, there's really no point. It's not like V'ger finds out like, oh, you're my creators.
Yeah.
You know?
And it kind of seems to the point where she has any emotion, it's only in the last second, and nothing that was leading up to it had anything to do with that. So you're trying to skip past this point. I was just going to do it.
I want to, but you keep bringing us back to it.
Because
we were talking about the end, for God's sakes.
I think one of my favorite scenes might be, so Spock tells... Kirk, think of V'ger as a child.
Yeah.
Doesn't give much explanation to that other than a lack of understanding of the world, but it's gathered a lot of information for a child, but whatever. It works. And he convinces her that they have to get right up against the original CPU of whatever V'ger might be. And one of my favorite scenes is them talking about a... oxygen envelope forming outside the ship and them standing on the top of the Enterprise with a surface coming out for them to walk across.
I loved this.
It's so gorgeous.
Yeah.
I was finding it annoying for a quick second as they're doing it, and I'm just like, you know what? They look so fucking good out on that ship. I can't get mad.
Yeah. And it's trippy.
I don't think the size ratio is correct.
I don't think so. But
also, the Enterprise got a lot smaller with them standing on top of that. But yeah, I thought
the ship was supposed to have thousands of people on it.
And I mean, this movie was a good 8 years ahead of its time. They're standing on these little pillars like it's Oh, I don't know. One of the Superman movies. There's a lot of these hexagon little pillars. I felt a
Sure.
little bit like I was watching one of the Never-Ending Story movies, but I can't remember which one.
There's more than I thought. There was just one.
Oh, fuck yeah, there's two. You gotta see the second one.
I haven't even seen the first one.
Well, you don't really need to see either one. I wish I wish I could take him back. My favorite scene is the scene that I always mix up in my memory and doesn't actually exist because I keep thinking Billy Crystal's in it because I get it mixed up with the Billy Crystal scene from Princess Bride.
Yeah.
Because there's an old couple living out in the middle of nowhere, and I'm like, I keep going, Billy Crystal's about to be here. Nope.
Yeah.
No, not even close.
There's been a few times recently that there's been an old couple out in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, and that you could tell. I can't even remember exact, but you could just tell that that's the scene that they're trying to emulate.
Yeah,
and they're not doing as good of a job. You know? You can't. You ever heard?
Is that Carol Kane playing his wife?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. They're fucking awesome.
I only know that because a short or a reel or whatever came up on my feed today specifically about that scene, and Billy Crystal did all this preparation for it. He helped design the makeup and stuff for his character.
Oh, good, because I can't believe he did any preparation. He sounds just like fucking Billy Crystal and anything else.
Right. Well, like he memorizes all of his lines. He does all the prep work, right? And then right before they start rolling, the director leans over to him and goes like, "Forget all of it.
Yeah, throw that out.
Just make it up."
They're only mostly dead.
Yeah, and then he proceeded to riff for 3 days. This became the most expensive scene in the entire movie because they just kept going reel after reel after reel because they took him 3 days to film this one scene, and it was like 10 hours a day of just him riffing.
Totally worth it.
Yeah, and they told Heath, when the camera's rolling, hold your breath. Try not to breathe. Don't worry, the scene's only 3 minutes long. It's only a minute long scene. So just hold your breath. And, after about 2 hours of this, they replaced him with the rubber dummy because he had to be sent, because he's like, I can't do this anymore.
Did you say Heath?
Who's the dead guy? Isn't that Heath Ledger? Is that not Heath Ledger? No. Who is that?
I don't know. Heath Ledger was 7 years old when that movie was made.
Isn't Heath in that movie?
Carrie Ells?
I could have swore that was Heath Ledger.
Carrie Ells, the stepdad in Liar Liar, or the other guy in Twister.
Jesus.
I'm trying to think of Carrie Ells movies.
Huh. Well, that's embarrassing.
The main guy, right? Who's dead in there? Yeah, that's Carrie Ells.
Huh. I think I'm getting Princess Bride and A Knight's Tale mixed up.
Yeah. Heath Ledger's definitely in that.
That's definitely Heath Ledger in that one.
You know who else is? Resident Alien guy.
Yeah.
He's like his sidekick in it or something. I don't even think I've ever seen that movie all the way through, but
A Knight's Tale?
Yeah.
Oh.
I hear it's good.
It's good. It was on TV a lot when I was not a kid, but younger. So I watched it a whole bunch.
Apparently more than Princess Bride. You're starting to mix these things up.
Yeah, Princess Bride I had to search out, unfortunately.
Yeah. When I was a kid, that was on TV a lot.
Yeah.
On Comedy Central. Yeah, it's been a while for me as well. Although, just to bring it back to the movie, we got to come up with a Star Trek crossover. So, great episode of DS9 when Prince Humperdinck competed with Quark with another casino across the promenade. Yeah, good old Chris Sarandon.
So we've recorded two well, this would be the third episode, but like 2 blocks of recording.
I brought up that episode before.
Yeah, you brought up that episode because you wanted to talk about
My handle.
Yeah, your handle on Xbox Live.
Yeah.
Of being Prince Humperdinck.
Yeah. That's not the handle is Martis Mazier, but yeah.
But it was the character that played.
It's the same actor, but his character's name in Deep Space Nine. So the actual character that
you just want to talk about this guy all day.
Oh,
what's his name?
Yeah. Chris Sarandon.
Chris Sarandon. You're just a Chris Sarandon guy, aren't you?
I love both things that I know him from.
If I go over to your place, is there going to be a Chris Sarandon poster up in your bedroom?
Oh yeah, but it's 2 pictures side by side, vertical cut, and it's just Martis Mazier and Prince Humperdinck.
Fantastic.
Oh, it is.
I'm happy for you.
Oh man, I'm so blown away. You need to watch that movie again. It is a classic.
Yeah, definitely. Any final words on Star Trek, the motion picture?
Yes. It is a fantastic movie. If it weren't for the fact that I was trying to watch it pretty late at night each time. It's not boring. I probably shouldn't have brought up the fact that I've fell asleep 3 times. It is just some of these scenes are drawn out a little too long, and it is. I have seen this movie multiple times, and it's quite long. But the sets are beautiful. The special effects have good parts and bad, but the good parts are very good. And yeah, it's a Star Trek. The score is beautiful. I really enjoyed a lot of it. Love seeing these characters again. I think there is still a lot that goes unexplained, that don't make a lot of sense. That one in the end of just like, if it needs consciousness, it already has it. If it doesn't have consciousness, then Decker's just setting himself up for failure. That still weighs on me, because in spite of all the other possibilities of what Decker could want with this, it seems that what he wanted was Ilea. That's really...
I don't think... I think V'ger needs the consciousness because it doesn't have it. It got rid of it too fast.
Yeah, I know why V'ger wants him.
Yeah.
I don't know why he wants there.
I think he wants there because he does want Ilea. And, there is an explorer in him. He's a captain of the flagship of the Federation, right? So he's got to have some...
more of a commander right now.
I mean, he's a commander now. That captain thing didn't really last all that long for him, but, so I don't know really how much of a captain he really is. This was supposed to be his maiden voyage, but... The point being...
Yeah, he's never been a captain of anything.
That's a good point, yeah. There's still an, explorer vibe inside of it. There has to be, right? So, part of him, maybe a small part, but at least it's a part, wants to see what's on the other side. But you're right. I think he only wants Ilea, and I think V'ger is going to give him a facsimile of Ilea. And that will make him happy enough. That will make his consciousness happy enough so that V'ger can get what it wants.
Yeah.
And if not, then he'll find something else to be into.
I have a blow-up doll of the one that got away. It's less satisfying than you'd think.
Well, you should probably switch over to an actual, fleshlight.
Oh,
Those blow-up dolls are dog shit.
Yeah, I got.
There's much better technology out there in the form of jerking off, man.
No, mine's super cheap. It's exactly like old rafts that you would use in the pool. So where the seams are, it's very sharp.
Nice.
It's
you got to use a lot of lube.
Actually less. You don't want it sliding past too quickly.
Well, because then if there's too much loop, it just slips out like a fucking, like if you're holding a balloon, it goes,
Yeah.
it just goes with, it's a
If
big
it
mess.
moves too much, it kind of becomes sharp. The edges. It's not great. Yeah, there's like
slicing,
seams.
dicing. Yeah. Well, I'm just saying, the jerk off technology has progressed a lot in the last 15 years. You could just go buy a new doll.
It hasn't progressed in like 10,000 years.
I don't know what you're talking
The
about.
best thing is part of your own body.
That's true. That's very true. There's way less cleanup, with a pocket pussy. You have to clean that. You have to turn it inside out. You have to wash it every single time, and you have to do it immediately. It's not like you can just, give it a few minutes before you go wash your hand off. You have to do it now, or else it gets really weird very quickly.
I don't think I've ever used a toy by myself.
I'm just saying, maybe you should give it you're talking about a blow-up doll that you've apparently never used. You just look at it then?
Yeah, it was made up, but now that we're talking for real, like it's like cleanup is exactly what I imagined. As soon as I heard the idea, I was just like, well, that's a nightmare.
Oh yeah.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
What kind of solvents would that take?
Yeah.
Nothing would clean it enough for me to use it a second time.
It doesn't get clean very quickly.
It might as well be a hand-me-down. For the second time, in my mind, it might as well be a hand-me-down. Somebody else could have handed it to me and been like, I used it last night. You want this?
You think there are, like, frat houses where pocket pussies just get passed around? Like, they don't have enough money for, like say there's 4 guys living in this house. They don't have enough money for 4 pocket pussies. They only have enough money for 1. So, like, they have to there's a rotation.
I like the guy that called the meeting that said,
I got this idea.
everybody come in. I'm going to introduce you to the new house pussy. And the number of disappointed frat brothers when he held up the flashlight.
And it's not even a flashlight. It's one of the ones that doesn't have a case. It's just a piece of silicone with a hole at the back of it.
I don't know the difference.
Okay. One side looks like a pussy. There's a hole in it, and then there's a hole on the outside. So sometimes when you're using it, you just go through just completely out the other side.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
So it works the way those like sleeves from the old Discovery Channel store.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the gooey ones that you like that like never end. You just keep going up and up and up.
Yeah. Unless they came to a stop, then I presumably you could just move it the other direction.
Yeah, you could just go the other. Yeah. Add the glitter inside of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that was a fucking random reference.
I was debating whether you remembered that there was a thing called the Discovery Channel store.
I don't. But I know what you're talking about because they were in Science Center gift shops,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was a mall store that Discovery Channel bought that was just like the science store that would be at like every mall. And it had stuff like, it was all stupid. It was all stuff like
the
that.
ball that you touch and, the electricity and makes your hair
What do you
stand up.
call those?
I don't know.
Ah.
You almost had me. I don't know. But I think that the motion picture is a unneedlessly hated movie. It's considered one of the bad Star Trek movies. And I don't think it deserves that much hate. It's just long. It's drawn out. Some of the dialogue scenes don't really make any sense in the way that they end. I think that this thing had a lot of issues in production. Rewriting 120 pages over and over and over and over again. You're gonna have some issues, And I think they wanted to show off how much money they were spending on the graphics, rightfully so.
Yeah.
But a little bit too long. There's not a lot going on. And but that scene where they're flying around the ship, around the Enterprise at dry dock, and you look at it head on for the first time, and the music swells. I get chills when that happens, and that's why this is an amazing movie.
You know why I'm excited about the future? There is a reason why this is considered the bad one, or at least one of the bad ones. And that is, it's all relative. They get better, and it's still good. It's still very enjoyable,
Yeah.
and yet that is the prospect of the future, that an enjoyable movie will be by the time you're done with 6 of them. One of the 2 worst.
That's awesome.
That's a good sign.
Yeah, that's a great sign.
Yeah.
That's a great sign. Well then, anything else?
No, I just want to say so it sounded like I was going to say something else.
Yeah.
I
Well,
was
you also-
hoping you would cut me off, actually.
I was about to, but you also reached for your pocket, which made me rethink what you were about to do.
Yeah, I probably have better final thoughts, but I'll say them to you on a day we're not recording and regret this.
You want to do a whole another section on 31?
Oh, I could go on and on about 31.
No.
I want to each movie, though, stop for about 15, 20 minutes and compare it to Voyager, Next Generation, and Deep Space Nine, though.